Hey, BU folks, welcome to the last assignment in this semester. Yay! So you are going to be doing a personal hero's journey project this week, and hopefully by the time you're listening to this screencast, you have actually already read the assignment. So I'm going to just go through that with you again and talk to you a little bit about the difference between the left column and the right column when you're creating your Google slideshow. So essentially, your left column is going to be what happens to you in your journey, and then your right column is going to be like your analysis or your interpretation of what happened. So let's walk through that a little bit together. So if you're looking at this document, you'll see that the objective is basically for you to just create a personal hero's journey project, kind of like what you did last week for the kite runner, only last week you were literally just telling me the plot details, what was going on in each of the 12 stages. And this week, I'm going to ask for you to be a little bit more thoughtful than that. So you're going to have to write a journey about some kind of a topic that's important to you. And you can see on the screen that I've highlighted a couple of topics from which you can choose. But if none of those topics speak to you, no worries. Figure out whatever your own topic is and then just do that. Once you've figured out your topic, then you're going to create a Google slideshow. There's a template right here, and I'm just going to show it to you. It looks exactly like this. So when you click on that slide, it's going to ask you to make a copy, and then this becomes your Google slideshow. It includes 2 spaces for each of your 12 stages. So you can see here you've got the ordinary world, a call to adventure, a reluctance, a mentor, etc. And you'll notice that for all of them except mentor, you have 2 boxes, not 1. And I want to talk to you about that. So the difference here is that on the left-hand column, in this left-hand box right here, you are going to list what happened to you. And then over here, you're going to interpret that, kind of like how you've been doing with Amir and Hassan for the last 7 weeks. You've been kind of saying, this is what happened and here's what I think it means. And so you're going to do the same thing for yourself. You're just going to think deeply about something that happened to you and what you think that means in terms of your developing character or your ability to be a grown-up in the world, things like that. So you'll notice that after stage 12, you'll get to this thing that says My Song and Lyrics. So let me clarify what that is about. The My Song section is that you are going to find a song that somehow speaks to some stage of your journey, where the lyrics, you go, oh man, I feel those lyrics, like those are me. And you are going to attach 30 seconds of that song right here. And then you are going to add the lyrics here, unless the YouTube video that you've chosen actually has the lyrics. If it does, then no need to worry about lyrics here. You'll just have it playing in your YouTube video. So that song is going to represent some stage. And then the last thing you're going to have to do is to write me a literary analysis paragraph where you are explaining how that song represents a stage in your journey. So you'll use a quote from the song and a specific stage from your journey, and you will write me a paragraph that convinces me that that was an appropriate song choice for you that illuminates the stage in your journey. Now, if we come back to this instruction sheet really quickly, there's just a couple of more things I want to point out before we look at some examples. This spot right here is where I am again trying to explain the difference between the left-hand box and the right-hand box. I also sometimes call them columns, a left column and a right column for each of the slides in your slideshow. So the left-hand column is simply a description of what happened for each of your 12 stages. And the right-hand column is where you do your interpretation or analysis or explanation of what each stage means regarding who you were or what you were dealing with on a deeper level. So you can read that over. I want you to notice that there are links all over the place. So we're going to look at a couple of exemplars, one model from a student and one model from me, so that you can kind of see this in real time. And then again, on your explanation sheet, you'll notice that you have this spot here where it talks a little bit more about how you're going to insert a song into your slideshow. And here's a helpful video to show you how to do that in a way where you don't have to click and drag, or you don't have to find your 30 seconds. When you are embedding it in your slideshow, there's a spot for you to choose from 1 minute and 37 seconds to 2 minutes and 7 seconds. And if you choose that and then you ask it to play automatically, then the minute you click to that slide, your video will play from that spot to the spot where you ask it to stop. So it's nice and smooth that way. There's more information for you here regarding how you're going to write your paragraph, so please feel free to reread that. And then down here on number 4, you'll see this is where I want you to take that Google slideshow. You're going to go into Flipgrid, and I have the code for Flipgrid in Schoology under this assignment. So you just click that code, it brings you right into the space. You're going to then use that slideshow, and you're going to create a screencast where you walk me through the slideshow, kind of like how I'm doing with you right now. If that seems daunting to you, fear not, because look at right here, I give you a video that's going to help you understand how to do all that stuff in Flipgrid, and it's pretty intuitive. And the last thing I want to bring your attention to is just the idea that you have a grading rubric here. It's a 100-point assignment, so this rubric will help you to understand where you're going to earn all your points. Okay, with that being said, I want to show you an exemplar from a student who was in my Advanced Language Arts 10 class last year at Boulder High School. And this person did a personal hero's journey to climb a 14er. So if you take a look, this person didn't do it left and right. They did it, the top was what happened, and the bottom was what it meant. So let's just do this, for example, the ordinary world. Notice that my student inserted a visual to help me understand this was my student's ordinary world. And here's what they say. They say, I was in 2nd grade and my life had been pretty great. I loved playing outside and was looking for an adventure. I could also be a bit shy sometimes and not super willing to go out of my comfort zone. Okay, so his ordinary world is that he's just living a normal life. But then this down here is what it meant. On the inside, who was his character? What was his life like? What were his life's challenges? And what was he looking at facing if he was going to embark on a journey? So he says, I hadn't really faced any major challenges in life yet, and I didn't know the wonders that life could give. It was almost a state of blissful ignorance about the fact that things in life could be hard. So here he's basically creating some foreshadowing for us. So he's saying he had not faced major challenges. So my guess is his journey is going to involve a challenge and this idea that life can be hard. So my guess is that somewhere along the line, he's going to talk about how his life got hard. His call to adventure is basically his dad telling him and his sister, hey, we're going to climb a 14er. And that is what happened. So up here, that's what that talks about. But down here, I want to know on a deeper level, what's the call to adventure? And so my student says, my dad had raised us in a way where he'd push us to do our best while realizing when we were doing the best we could and then backing off. This is one of those moments when I was presented with a challenge. So he goes deeper than just climbing a 14er and he says, I'm presented with a challenge, with this idea that's going to take effort. And so I basically am going to engage in this adventure to learn how to work hard. So his reluctance is basically, he says, I was scared, like it's 14,000 feet above sea level. But on a deeper level, what is that reluctance about? That's what I want you guys to get at. His reluctance was really basically about that he'd never done anything like this before, that this was brand new. And we are sometimes reluctant to try new things because new things can be scary. So I think that's where he's getting at here. In his stage 4, he has a mentor. Now, he chose to do 2 things about his mentor. You simply have to recall the mentor. All you have to do is state who your mentor was. Entering the unknown is when they actually started their hike. But again, on a deeper level, he feels like he's being supported, and that idea that everybody with him is going to engage in the same struggle is this feeling that was new, and that's starting to open up this whole new side of his emotions. So he's really getting at the depth. That idea that a feeling that this was new and it was opening up a whole new side of emotions, that has nothing to do with the climbing of the 14er. It has everything to do with how we feel when we enter into any unknown. His tests, ordeals, allies, and enemies, he actually chooses to do a bullet point list, and I think that's a really good idea, so feel free to do a bullet point if you'd like. But the depth part, remember, has nothing to do with those bullet points. It has everything to do with what's going on inside, not outside. And so he says, I hadn't learned that sometimes in order to get to the end of a journey, you have to kind of suffer along the way. That's what he's learning in stage 6. That's what's going on inside of him. In stage 7, as you can imagine, those of you who have hiked a 14er, the final push is usually the hardest. And so that's his supreme ordeal, trying to make that final push to get to the summit. And he says, at this point, I'd set my mind and I became determined. This journey then requires me to fight through fears, pain, exhaustion. Notice how that is intrinsic and not extrinsic. That is not about the mountain, it's about what's happening inside of him. At the top, he gets a reward. Obviously, the extrinsic reward is getting to the top. But the intrinsic reward is what's going on inside. So he says, I learned that sometimes you've got to work through pain in an exact moment in time. And then once you get through it, it's going to be worth it. And so that is kind of all that idea about kind of delayed gratification, right? And what can happen if you work really hard. Then once you feel that gratification, what does it look like? Now, you might notice that he has leapt from stage 8 to stage 10, and the reason for that is his 9 doesn't happen yet. And so remember, your stages can go out of order, and that's what he chose to do. You'll see stage 9 a little bit later. So stage 10, his transformation is that when he's at the top, he becomes a different person. And you can see that on the top, and then you can see what's different about him here at the bottom part. While he is up there, he is atoned. He has found peace with himself. And so at the top, he says, I made it to the top. I felt good. It was worth it. I was at peace. But intrinsically, that's the bottom part, or that's the right-hand box if you're going to do it in boxes. He says it felt good to feel worldly and to feel like I had a better understanding of the world. He's at peace because he accepts the fact that there's going to be pain. He knows to face it head on. He's seen the results now. And so ultimately, he is at peace with understanding how a journey works. And then we get to stage 9, which is being pursued on the road back, because of course, when you're at the top of the mountain, your journey is obviously not over, right? So they had to climb back down, during which time there was this giant storm. And so when they get to the bottom, they're drenched. That's their pursuit on the road back. It's when you've achieved your goal, but your story isn't quite done yet. And so he has an intrinsic road back as well. And then his elixir is that now I'm more confident. He now has something to compare his everyday struggles to, because life is like climbing a mountain, right? So that intrinsic understanding of what a journey looks like is something you can apply to every journey you're going to take from then on. All right, so he chooses a song, and you can see that he puts his lyrics here. Okay, and then his paragraph, and I'll just let you guys hold on to this because remember, you all have this document in your original explanation. So if you wanted to go to this, then you can read this for yourself. But essentially, he has a thesis statement here about how this song captures one of the stages of his hiking. And he has a quote here, and he explains it here. And then he has another quote here to finish up. So why don't you guys all take a look at that, and you can see how he develops his ideas, and that will help you to figure out what ideas you want to present. And I just want to remind you that there is a second personal hero's journey, and that's mine, so that you can see over here my ordinary world. I'm a 15-year-old ski racer. Fine, I'm about to get a driver's license. But over here, I really talk about who I was on the inside. I was kind of insecure, and ski racing was this kind of area of competence that helped me to feel more secure and capable, and I kind of wrapped myself up in that. So if you go through, you can see that I have these calls to adventure. I didn't have a mentor. And then you can just go through and read it all. I have a song and lyrics, and then you can also read my paragraph so you can use another exemplar to figure out how you're going to structure your own paragraph. And I think that's it. If you have questions, you should come into my office hours. Otherwise, I look forward to hearing about your own personal journeys. Thanks.